I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
As of this recording, we are 24 hours removed from the news, and we're going to start on a downer. Angela Lansbury has passed away. The legendary Angela Lansbury. Yeah. Disney fans know her. She's Mrs. Potts. She's Eglantine Price. Most people might know her as Jessica Fletcher on Murder, She Wrote, but she has so much more.
I mean, Mrs. Lovett?
Yeah.
I was just playing, there's a video game that's kind of popular right now called Played Up. I was playing it with a friend. You run a restaurant, and we were making meat pies, and we named it Mrs. Lovett's after her. So,
I mean, she's been in the game for a while, all the way back to the 1940s.
Yeah, it was a 75-year career. Yeah.
Her first film was Gaslight. Yes, as in the movie that coined the term gaslighting. But
she was just a teenager when she did that one, I think.
With all the loss we've had this year alone, starting with Betty White all the way down, it's like, can we just wrap up like Maggie Smith and Julie Andrews and Judi Dench in like bubble wrap for the rest of their lives?
Yeah.
Make sure nothing happens to them.
I mean, everybody remembers Angela Lansbury as for her sweeter roles, I guess. And that's fair. If you've never seen her in like The Manchurian Candidate, go treat yourself, because that will make your blood run cold. She had some range on her.
Her final film has yet to come out, and it will be Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel for Netflix.
Yeah, that one will be bittersweet.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I have been looking forward to that. I really liked Lives Out, but, I mean...
Yeah. We could do a 3-hour podcast just on the career of Angela Lansbury, but it's like, where do you start? Where do you end? It's like, it's just, there's so much, and she's done, they say that the word legend gets thrown around too much, but Angela Lansbury's a legend. Playbill recently put this on his social media, and this is a quote from Angela Lansbury on how she wanted to be remembered. And the quote goes, "I'd like them to think consummate performer, and that really just came into my head. I am a performer, and I never want to be thought of only as a star or as a celebrity. I just want to be a meaningful, entertaining performer." And that's how Angela Lansbury wants to be remembered. But I honestly think that quote is selling herself too short.
Yeah, I read one thing that honestly I didn't know, which was that when she was doing Murder, She Wrote, she made sure to get them to put in as many parts for older actors as they could, for guest stars and for people who had quote unquote aged out of the profession and were having trouble finding work, because it would help them keep their union benefits and earn points for their pension and for their medical benefits, keep their health insurance, things like that. And in fact, she had one part created for an actress because she learned the actress had MS and was going to lose her medical insurance if she couldn't find work, but she was having difficulty finding work because of her diagnosis. And so she had the writers create a recurring part specifically for that actress so that she would be able to come into work every few episodes and do a short kind of cameo role and thus be able to keep her medical benefits and treat her MS.
Truly a kind soul, honestly.
And I thought, I mean, you want to talk about a real one?
Yeah.
That's a real one right there.
Just a few days short of her 97th birthday. You don't want your favorites to go, and when they go, it hurts. And that's how and Kiki can attest to the string of expletives I texted her when I found out.
Yeah, I hated to be the one to break that news to you, but you were the first person I sent it to when I found out, because I knew we would have to discuss it. And yeah, that was a kind of harsh string to receive back, but honestly, that was exactly how I was feeling when I saw it myself. It's you want to be the type of person to live a life that even when you go at 96, people go like, "Man, that was too young." No, I feel like you're not allowed to leave us at 96. Too young. I feel like
we said the same thing about Betty White.
Yeah, Betty White went at 99, and you were like, no, that is not long enough with Betty White. And honestly, same thing with Angela Lansbury. You're like, no, not enough time with Angela Lansbury.
Yeah, thank you, Angela Lansbury, for everything.
Go watch some of her musical performances. Go watch some Mame or something.
Turn on the Disney Plus and watch Bedknobs and Broomsticks and Beauty and the Beast and that few-minute cameo she had in Mary Poppins Returns. And if you can find that, I know there is a video recording of her on stage doing Sweeney Todd. You can hunt that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tonal shift time. This week, I don't know how I'm going to get into this, but we're going to try to get into this. This week's, keeping the spirit of spooky season, we are going into the actual genuine horror, starting with Jennifer's Body.
Yeah, this is the one you're going to need to get the kids out of the room for, because we're getting into the rather graphic horror for this one. We've had it. I mean, What We Do in the Shadows is not for kids, but we kind of danced around some of the more adult things. If you watch it, you know, they're very explicit in their language, and it's rather bloody. But we didn't really get into a lot of that. But there is no way to discuss Jennifer's Body without getting into the hard R rating of this film. So, bye kids. We'll see you after spooky season.
Yeah, so if you're one of our listeners that listens with the little ones, we'll see you in November. Because the rest of the month, we're going deep into the 20th Century Studios horror library. One of the few things, one of the positives of the Disney buying out 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, we can finally, when we started the podcast, we were like, the Halloween is kind of a weird season because Disney doesn't really do a lot of Halloween. Yeah, with the Fox buyout, Disney kind of does Halloween now. So, Yeah, let's have fun with that.
So yeah, Jennifer's Body, listed as a horror comedy, and there are some comedic elements into this movie. Again, we are going to say this one last time. The adult conversation is starting right now. Parental discretion is advised. The comedic part, at least the one that got, I know it's not supposed to get a laugh, but it is a comedic moment, is when Needy and Chip are having sex, and Needy is getting the psychic vision of what Jennifer's doing, and Chip just thinks he's the manliest man who ever manned in bed.
Yeah. That is, you can tell this was written by a woman, though.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I love this movie is that it is very much a movie that was written by a woman, directed by a woman, and starring women. One of the things that gets brought up with this movie a lot when we talk about this movie is that it was marketed horribly.
This was marketed as a sexy horror movie. You know, all of this, you know, because Megan Fox was seen as the hot girl in a lot of movies. So we're going to focus on how hot Megan Fox is. Oh, you know, the big thing about the trailers was, you know, I thought you only, you know, killed men. I go both ways.
Well, her biggest role prior to this, Megan Fox's, was Transformers. She was the hot girl from Transformers. That's how most people knew her, if you knew her at all. And Michael Bay had kind of done her dirty. Let's be real about that. In the way that they had treated her in Transformers, in the movie and on the set.
I mean, to the point where she didn't return for the third film.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, there's a lot of stories about that. You can look them up. I will not really get too deep in the woods on that here. That really controlled the conversation in the media about Megan Fox, and it controlled her career at the time. Diablo Cody, who wrote this film, was known before this for writing Juno, which had won Diablo Cody an Oscar. Also, the movie that kind of gave the world their first big look at Elliot Page. So that movie had hit it really big, and Diablo Cody had won the Oscar for it. And after that, everybody was like, okay, Diablo Cody is the new hotness. She can do whatever she wants. What movie do you want to do next? Quirky indie writer Diablo Cody. And she was like, I want to do a horror film. And I want it to star Megan Fox. And everybody was like, okay, that's 180 degrees different from the quirky teen comedy about unplanned pregnancy that you just did. And she was like, no, I want like a hard R horror film starring Megan Fox. And honestly, the only reason the studio went for it was Oscar winner Diablo Cody and Megan Fox is hot. In fact, Diablo Cody talks about in an interview that she did with Megan Fox on the 10th anniversary of the movie that she was emailing back and forth with a studio executive, a man, about how they were going to market the movie. And the executive kept throwing out ideas, and Diablo Cody said, I think you're going the wrong way with this. And she finally said, tell me what what your plan is for marketing this movie. And he sent her back 3 words, which were just Megan Fox hot. And that was the only thing the studio wanted. They just wanted to show pictures of Megan Fox walking slowly down a hallway and, unzipping her top and then being like, Jennifer's body. Come watch it. That's all they wanted. And I remember...
It seems like if they could have called the movie Megan Fox's Body and just showed Megan Fox's body, they can get away with it, I guess.
Yeah, and I remember when the film came out, I mean, you know me, I'm a huge horror fan. And when the film came out, I skipped it initially. Because it did not look like anything I would want to see. Because the entire marketing was like, do you want to see Megan Fox's boobs? Come watch this movie. And I was like, I mean, no offense to Megan Fox's boobs, but what else you got for me? Is there a plot? What are there scares? Do people get murdered in this movie? Like, what else is going on other than Megan Fox has boobs?
As someone myself who has really never seen this movie before this watch for this podcast, my thing was, okay, it's called Jennifer's Body and it's a horror movie. It's just all is here's this hot chick and it's a horror movie. Does she become a murderer? Does she do the thing? And then when they get into the supernatural part, oh, you know what? They could have actually put this in the advertising and I would have watched this movie.
Yeah, there is nothing in the initial advertisement. If you go back and watch the original trailers and stuff, there is nothing to give you any idea about what the film is about, what the concept of the film is about. Demonic possession, succubus, revenge fantasy, toxic female friendship, just like... I mean, you'd barely know that Amanda Seyfried is even in this movie.
And she herself is coming right off of success from Mamma Mia.
Yeah, I mean... She had been, prior to this, Mamma Mia, she had been in Veronica Mars, she had been in Mean Girls, she'd had a good career prior to this. Arguably more so than Megan Fox. Just from amount of known properties, And... she was kind of barely in the marketing for it.
Because you want to focus on how hot Megan Fox is.
Yeah. It was so badly done at the time that it just kind of very quickly tanked and then went away.
Yeah, it bombed. And then it kind of gained a cult following once it hit, like, DVD. It's one of those, hey, let's rent a movie for a weekend. Oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah. But I think when it really gained the cult following was kind of in the Me Too era. Because the feminist themes of it.
I mean, this was intended to be female empowerment.
It was meant to speak to all that, but I think it got there a bit too early to hit that moment, as far as with the initial box office. But it speaks to all those same worries in women, but it came out a bit too early for it to be the conversation in the general populace. So it's a thing that, if women are watching it, it's something that you immediately pick up on. I don't think the men watching it at the time would have immediately been as aware.
I mean, themes of a woman not being believed, of a woman using her own. And that's pretty much the main theme of the movie. Is here's this woman, Needy, who is trying to warn people, and no one believes her.
I mean, to the point that her own boyfriend even says, "I'm sorry, I didn't believe you on this."
Yeah.
But also, I mean, it is a woman body literally being sacrificed for the professional advancement of a group of men.
And
I mean, you cannot get more literal as a metaphor than that.
And her body is literally being puppeted for the rest of the movie. We don't know. We don't know what orientation this creature is identifying as, because we don't know. It's never stated, but it's clear that this is not the same person anymore.
Yeah, they do say it is a case of demonic possession after that. I mean, it is a story of men literally using a woman and a woman's sexuality for their own professional advancement, for their career. And it works in the most literal way possible. I mean, it's yeah, and successfully so. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it is a successful thing that they do, at least for a time. We talked a little bit about the backstory. Let's just talk about the main actors in this just a little bit more, and then we can really dig into the plot here. We've already talked about Megan Fox, who plays Jennifer. Like we said before this, she was mostly known to the public for Transformers. She had been in a couple of things before that, but if you knew her at the time, it was going to be for Transformers. She had, unfortunately, in the media, because of the way she was treated in Transformers, a very, I guess it's fair to say, ditzy sex symbol, and kind of a weirdo sex symbol persona that had been given to her.
The Marilyn Monroe effect.
Yeah, it was very similar to what the media did to Marilyn Monroe. I think it's safe to say. Whereas if you hear Megan Fox talk, she is much more considered than I think most people would expect of her. There are some stories about what happened on the Transformers set, but the thing is, though, is that I kind of do feel a bit sorry for what was done to her. I think she's gotten a little bit worse than she probably deserved.
Coming back to work with Bay on what many consider to be the worst Ninja Turtles movie ever made didn't help her case.
Yeah, but at the time, I think it was a thing of not a lot of people were willing to hire her because of the way she was portrayed. Do you work with the one guy who will hire you, or do you not have work? So,
yeah,
I can see that issue. She has said in interviews that she really felt that she was the correct performer to play Jennifer in this film, because she said she felt very in tune with Jennifer and with what had happened to Jennifer. Felt it was very similar to some things that had happened to her. That made me feel kind of sad that she felt she could connect to such a tragic story, because honestly, nothing in the movie that happens to Jennifer is very nice.
And she kind of went full method for this movie, like staying indoors to keep her skin pale and losing a significant amount of weight to make herself look frail in the scenes where Jennifer hasn't eaten in a while.
Yeah, that's... I kind of hate when actors do that, but, you know. I really do think that as an acting job, she did very well. Some of the scenes, especially
she knows how to play a bitch.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry.
She does kind of have the range, but also in the scenes where, like, Jennifer is in the van with the band, and
Scared
you
for
can
her
tell
life.
that she's scared. You know, she's starting to get worried about, you know, where are we going and where are these guys taking me, and in the scene on the cliff and everything. You really start to feel for her. And that's not a small ask from an actor. So, you know, I was really impressed with her performance. The other main character, of course, is Amanda Seyfried as Needy, Anita. She, like we said, had just come off of Mamma Mia, had probably been her biggest thing just before, and like that, she had been in Veronica Mars. She was in the middle of her run on Big Love as they were filming this.
Another well, I mentioned this in Princess Diaries, another case of Hollywood ugly, where let's put her in baggy clothes and glasses to make her look less hotter than Megan Fox, which actually does play into the story, and we'll get into it.
I think there's a difference between, and we probably should have discussed this more in Princess Diaries, but Amanda Seyfried did talk about how she felt less pressure than Megan Fox because she wasn't expected to be quote unquote sexy throughout the movie. She could just be a person. And so many times women in movies are not just expected to act, but they're expected to constantly be sexy while they're acting, which is a whole nother ball of weirdness, I think. That not only do you have to worry about your performance, but you have to worry about, are you being the most attractive you can be at the moment while you're performing? I'm not saying that men in the same position never have to worry about that, but I don't think it's always the first thing in their mind, whereas I think for a lot of women it is. It was interesting to hear her talk about that because they did the kind of Hollywood ugly thing for Needy, that it was like, oh, you just get to be an actor now. Which I think should be a thing more women should be allowed to do. Again, we can talk about that more as we talk about the story itself. The kind of third in the trio here of main characters is Needy's boyfriend, who is Chip, played by Johnny Simmons.
Young Neil.
Yeah,
I know him as Young Neil in Scott Pilgrim.
He would go. Most of us probably know him as Young Neil in Scott Pilgrim, which was his role just after this. The role he had done before this was in Evan Almighty, where he played Steve Carell's son, Dylan. Just after this, he would go on to play Young Neil in Scott Pilgrim. And then he had parts in Perks of Being a Wallflower and a few other things. But he does such a good job here as the, like, adorable, supportive boyfriend role.
And also kind of a dummy.
Well,
I mean, dummy, I don't mean dumb as in he's an idiot, but he's kind of oblivious to the supernatural goings on around him.
but honestly, though, he really is just the everyman role.
Yeah.
Because I think most of us would not, I don't think our first idea in our brain is going to be like, hey, do you think that chick over there is a succubus that's like, eating all the people in town? Like, I don't think that's going to be our number one thought. I don't really think he's like himbo levels of, dumb. I think he's just kind of the everyman. And then our main villain in the story, other than, Jennifer, who's kind of a unintentional villain, but our true villain of the story is Nikolai Wolf, the lead singer of the rock band, played by Adam Brody. Most people at the time knew him for either his roles in the OC or his role in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or maybe Thank You for Smoking, which was a very underrated film, in my opinion.
Adam Brody, not the first choice to be Nikolai. They wanted to get Pete from Fall Out Boy or Joel from Good Charlotte, and neither were available. They actually wanted an actual 2000s era singer to play a singer, which makes sense. But they get Adam Brody. His voice is dubbed over. That is not him singing.
The interesting thing is, though, is that Jennifer does have a huge Fall Out Boy poster right over her bed as a shout out to the fact that they really wanted Pete Wentz to come in and play the role. It would have been interesting to see that, but I think Adam Brody does a really good job. He's got that kind of douchey menace.
That swarmy, douchey, yeah, definitely pure. I mean, since we're going R-rated here, can I just say it? Pure asshole.
Yeah, I mean, he is this sort of just everyday fuckboy that you'd run into.
Constantly getting the town's name wrong, intentionally. As we will find out later, he is intentionally getting the town's name wrong. But, yeah, just, 3% of our song royalties will go to the town and blah, blah, blah. And,
Yeah, but he's not portrayed as some kind of, they are a devil worshipping band, and he is the leader of that. I think the other guys in the band are just kind of going along with it.
It's not mustache. It's not necessarily mustache twirling villain, but it's like, hey, do you want to be nobodies for the rest of your life? The only way to get ahead is to do it this way.
He is such a mundane sort of evil, which I think is the
kind of makes it worse.
Yeah, it's the appropriate thing, because it is the sort of, it's that guy that you run into all the time if he just stepped over the line just a little bit. I have met just so many of that exact guy that it's so weird to just see that guy and be like, yeah, I could see that guy being like, yeah, I found a spell to sacrifice a virgin on the internet, and I thought, what the hell? It'll get my band a better tour date. Like,
yeah.
Which is such the bizarre mundanity of the whole plot,
Casual evil, is that a thing? Is casual evil a thing?
Yeah, it's so casually evil. Yeah, and it seems so absurd, which I think is the genius of Diablo Cody in this, is just sitting down and going like, Yeah, I could see that dude in the band just being like, yeah, I'd do that. I'd sacrifice a virgin for, a, a better slot at a better bar in a better town, like. And you wouldn't really, I don't know, it's such a weird thing, and it's not like, I hate to say it, but it's not like people haven't done that sort of thing before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people have killed for much dumber reasons. Just in real life. So the idea that some band would do that for the dumbass reason of, we thought it would get us a better slot. And just the only thing that makes it that takes it from like a thriller into an actual horror movie is the fact that it works.
Yeah.
Is the fact that the occult is real in this scenario.
It would have been a different movie if they had done the thing, made the sacrifice and then nothing happened and it just becomes Who Murdered Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, that's an entirely different kind of movie. That's like a true crime thriller kind of movie, But it's, the idea of, well, what if they did this and they screwed it up? Because I mean, that really is the plot of the film, is they tried to find a virgin, and in attempting to defend her friend's honor and thinking that this douchey band is going to be turned off by the idea of hitting on her friend if they think she's a virgin.
Because rock band, hot chick.
Yeah. Needy says, well, yeah, she is a virgin and she would never sleep with guys like you, not realizing they are specifically prowling for a virgin for their sacrifice. And then Jennifer also makes the mistake once she gets in the van and hears them saying in the middle of their insults about women, bet she's, are we even sure she's a virgin? And she also thinks that will turn them off. So she plays into the idea of like, yeah, I don't even know how to do a sex. You should probably find somebody who knows how to do a sex. Thinking that like, okay, that's going to be their turnoff. They're going to want to know, they're going to want the chick with experience, which it turns out she is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they play that up throughout the. I mean, that's said right up straight at the beginning of the movie, as it's kind of revealed that she's kind of probably slept with half the guys in that bar, including the cop, which cameo by Chris Pratt.
Yeah. The thing is that she speaks rather explicitly about all of the sexual activity she's done with Needy, and so the audience knows that she's not a virgin.
I mean, she's going to the bar and says, I'll just flash my boobs at the bartender, he'll give me free drinks.
The thing is that her playing into that in an attempt to turn them off is the thing that ends up kind of getting her sacrificed, because that's what they want. And that's what makes the sacrifice go wrong, because it turns out in this movie's world, if you sacrifice a non-virgin to Satan, it will give you fame and fortune, but it will also turn the victim into a succubus.
It's like the whole thing starts with Jennifer's own thirst, not thirst for blood, but thirst for men. In that she's only going to this concert at the bar because she thinks the lead singer's hot, because she saw it on their MySpace page, because this is early 2000s. God, I'm old.
MySpace.
God, I'm old. So, like, that's the entire reason of her going there is she's intentionally trying to get with the hot lead singer of the band, but she doesn't want to go alone, so she brings Needy along. And early in the movie, it's kind of shown that even before being possessed by Satan, she's not a good person, Jennifer. She's, like Needy wants to spend the night with her boyfriend, and that gets ruined because Jennifer wants to go out. Even when they're kind of teasing each other, Jennifer shoves Needy into the wall. Like, from the get-go, it's showing you that this is not a healthy friendship that they have.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, once again, it's so realistic. It's very bizarre when you're watching a movie that's like based around demon possession and stuff and go like, wow, this is a super realistic movie. But kind of everything about this movie that's not dealing directly with the supernatural is so painfully real that it's like, once you're like, and now the demon is just hovering in midair, it kind of grounds the unreality in such a harsh reality that you're like, yep, I can buy everything else about this, because the rest of it is just so awkwardly true to life.
Their friendship does get questioned very early in the movie, as well as, they were friends since they were children. And as they grow up into high school, Jennifer becomes hot. She becomes the head cheerleader. And Needy is like the nerdy girl, but they're still best friends. Even though, as Chip points out, they have very little in common.
Yeah, and sometimes it kind of just it is like that. In adulthood, it's more that if you meet someone and you don't have much in common, you kind of drift apart. But if you're in a small town like that, and there's only one school, and there's not much to do, and you see each other literally every day, whether or not you have common interests does not really play a lot into friendship so much. It's just like, okay, I have known you since we were 6, and I see you for, 8 hours every single Monday through Friday, and nobody moves here, nobody leaves, so you're literally the only person in my life. I guess we're friends. I've had so many friends like that.
I mean, I was going to say, you, the person who grew up in a small town.
Yeah, I mean, that is so absolutely true to life. It's like, we have nothing in common except for the fact that I see you every day, and I've known you since we were 6 years old or whatever, and I guess that means we're friends just by default of we are in proximity together. And okay. And then you grow up. I mean, I had friends like that where I grew up and we became adults, and we, started dating people, or, went off to college or whatever. And you look back on it and you go, wow, we weren't friends at all. And in fact, you treated me horribly. And I spent like 12 or 16 years of my life thinking that we were the best of friends and we were going to spend the rest of our lives being BFFs. Or as this movie calls it, biffs.
Yeah.
Side note, that is the one thing about Diablo Cody that is kind of mildly infuriating. She is an excellent writer, and I really do like her work, but she does have a slight weirdness in the way she writes that she gets slang almost correct. It's a kind of weird hello fellow kids kind of writing. So like they wear BFF necklaces, but Amanda Seyfried says in the dialogue, like, we're total biffs. Which is, not the way you say that. And at one point, Megan Fox comes in and she says to someone like, "You just want to be so like me. You're just so jello. You are totally lime jello about this." And I'm like, okay, close. Close. That's very, very close to what the saying is.
I think they even invent a few, because the term that Jennifer uses is salty when she talks about hot guys. Maybe it's my oldness, but when I was young, salty generally meant jealous.
Well, I mean, salty in these days is kind of more not angry, but it's kind of,
Slang changes.
Yeah, kind of annoyed about things, like somebody messed with me today and I'm feeling a little bit salty about that, so I got to vent to you for a little bit, like that's kind of the way it's usually used. I have never once before this movie heard it used as like, that guy's a real hottie. Like, he's looking real salty today. Like that's never, that's not a thing I've heard outside the context of this movie. It might be, okay, but it's something I only associate with this film. So it's kind of like she heard somebody being like, I'm feeling real salty today, and she thought that person was hot, and she was like, yeah, you are looking real salty today, like I don't know.
I don't know.
But there is a lot of that in the film where it's kind of like you just get like you heard that word once, and like, it's like she heard somebody be like, "Oh, I am totally jelly of that," and she was like, "Yeah, I am feeling jello." It's like
it's like your parents.
Right.
It's like when your parents start to use your slang, but they get it wrong.
And I'm like, but Diablo Cody is not like that old. Like, it's like,
hello, fellow kids. What's the 911?
Yeah, it's the like, I don't think she's, I mean, she's like 4 years older than us. She shouldn't be like that out of step. I don't know.
Know.
But it's just kind of adorable in the thing where I'm like, somebody should have told her. I don't know.
I want to talk one moment before we get really into this, is the town itself. Devil's Kettle, Minnesota. So named because there's a waterfall that goes nowhere. It funnels into a place and no one ever sees it again. Hence the name, the Devil's Kettle. Now the band Low Shoulder constantly referred to the place as Devil Lake up until we do the sacrifice, which to me feels like it was the intention. Like they don't get the name of the town right until it's time to do the sacrifice.
It feels like they're trying to do it to troll people,
Part of me, when I watched it, like, I thought when he finally says it right, it's like, was this part of the sacrifice thing that you're not allowed to say the town's name until it happens or something? But even after the sacrifice, he still gets the town's name wrong, which you might be right. It just be intentional trolling of what Nikolai calls the shitty city.
we're not exactly sure where the band is from. She just kind of says something like, "Aren't you guys from the city or whatever?"
Could be Minneapolis. We don't, because
Yeah.
it's never told. We're never told exactly where Devil's Kettle is, but the city and Minnesota usually refer to either Minneapolis or St. Paul.
Yeah, so you get the feeling that like wherever the band is from, they're from the nearest big city to wherever Devil's Kettle is. I think every place has like towns that they kind of troll. I know where I live, we have places where we have sort of joke names for them. And when you say you're from that place, we're like, "Oh, you're from," and then we'll say like the joke name. And it's just kind of our way of trolling people from that place, And maybe that's just kind of their thing of like trolling people from, like your town's too small for us to ever remember the name right or whatever. Because they talk about like, yeah, we don't. Needy says that when they go to see the band, they go to the club, quote unquote, and then she's like, "But my boyfriend's right. We don't have a club. We have a pool hall that has taps in it, because clubs have like bouncers and champagne and. But ours just has a stage in the corner and a couple of, a couple of pool tables and some, video games and the sticker toilet or whatever she calls it." And it's kind of like that, I live in a place like that. Like you don't really have a club. You just have like one really crappy bar or whatever, It's really interesting to see how the band kind of treats that when they come, and Jennifer's all like, "Oh wow, you showed up," and they're like, "Well, it's nice for us to come and connect with our fans in the middle of absolute nowhere,"
Yeah. And of course, we will find out that the reason they're in Devil's Kettle is that's where they need to make the sacrifice. Because the town has devil in the name. But then again, those guys seem like they're that big of idiots to figure out, oh, the sacrifice needs to be in a place with the word devil in it.
Well, I'm not even sure it's that so much as who's going to go looking for a chick from the middle of nowhere.
Possible. Their logic in believing Jennifer's a virgin, like she's dressed slutty, therefore she has to be a virgin.
Well, I think their original logic was that she was throwing herself a little too desperately at them. The idea that
she was, but
well, she was a little bit, but I think it was the idea of like
she wants her first time to be with a rock star.
Yeah, is that the idea that they had the idea of like she's really looking to lose that V card, man. Like the interesting thing is that I think that the movie is saying that it's on that particular night it was Needy that was the virgin in that situation, and Jennifer is not.
I mean, the implication is that, Jennifer even implies that when she picks up Needy from Chip's house that they've just got done having sex.
No,
but it's also the implication that they had sex for the first time later in the film.
Yeah, what I think the implication was that Jennifer was making jokes about sex to make Needy uncomfortable because she knew that Needy was a virgin. Shut up, virgins. I'm going to the club to get laid. But
I mean, the implication is even that Needy doesn't even swear.
Yeah.
She doesn't even swear the character doesn't swear until like
most of the way through the movie.
Until like the last act of the movie.
Yeah. The thing is though is that girls like Jennifer tend to keep girls like Needy around because there is an inner insecurity in them.
Which Needy calls out.
Yeah, later in the movie she does absolutely call it out.
Like you peaked 2 years ago and you've been having me hang on to you because you're insecure because you want to feel hot. Well,
and the thing is that it started probably a lot earlier because we actually see, you know, them in the sandbox and stuff when they were little kids and Needy taking care of Jennifer and all that kind of stuff. But I think it probably just grew as they got older and Jennifer found out that she could kind of force Needy into that role.
Manipulation.
And be like, I'm the popular one and I'm the cute one and I'm the one who's good with boys and Needy, you're the brainy one or whatever.
I mean, we even see Needy when she's getting dressed is that she's not allowed to dress hotter than Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to wear a low-cut shirt because boobs are Jennifer's things. I can wear a midriff because Jennifer says that's okay. I can do this because Jennifer's, you know. It's Jennifer has set the rules for how Needy is dressed. So it's like, is Needy the less hot one, or is Jennifer the one that says like, oh, that lipstick looks bad on you, sweetie. Don't wear that. You'll look like a slut or whatever, you know? And it's like, I'm assuming you probably weren't around groups of high school girls when you were in high school. I may be wrong in that.
No.
But if you were, that is the sort of talk that goes on just when girls are among themselves. There's always just kind of like these little digs sometimes, you know, of like, oh no, your hair won't look good like that. No, you don't want to, don't do it like that. You know, and it's kind of only in growing up that you'll be like, no, I probably did look cute like that. They just didn't want me to like, you know, it's like,
I mean,
somebody else was insecure and was trying to, you know.
Even at the end, Chip says that Needy is hot, and she just still in that bit of insecurity, saying, "No, you're just delirious."
Yeah, and it really is that kind of thing of, it's probably been some combination of, you know, well, Amy Sedaris as her mom probably didn't help. Amy Sedaris is wonderful as Needy's mom because you know the way that she dresses her for that prom at the end is just
with the world's ugliest dress.
Yeah, just that ugly dress and the horribly like curled and teased hair and it's so. I had flashbacks to one of my proms because somebody did my hair kind of like that. It was awful, but the funny thing is that, like, you know, so that probably didn't help, but probably also Jennifer was doing that to her probably throughout the years. You know, you can always see that, like, Jennifer is constantly wearing like all the lip gloss and the cute things and stuff, but like, do you ever once see her like share nail polish or anything with Needy? Like, it's never like a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's always like, I'm going to be like this and you're going to be the lesser version of me. you know?
Probably why she called her needy.
Well, it's very definitely why she's named Needy in the script. Diablo Cody was very, specific on that. But it's probably kind of how she got that nickname in universe as well. There is that homoerotic bit to it as well, I guess, where are they kind of in love with each other? Is it just a one-way sort of thing?
It's implied very early on where one of the classmates sees, after their cheer routine, Jennifer kind of waves to Needy and Needy waves back, and one of the classmates leans in and said, "Are you two gay?" And then they're holding hands at the concert. They have this big passionate kiss later on. And even Jennifer implies that they used to play boyfriend and girlfriend when they were younger. So
yeah, and I mean it's thing that I don't know, it's such an interesting relationship because they are so close together. It does seem that Jennifer did have some feelings for Needy as well, because at one point she talks about that after her change, she wanted to come back and kill Needy, and then she realized that she couldn't kill someone she cared about.
It's probably, and also throughout the movie, Jennifer straight up hates Chip. And there's no reason given. Yeah, he's a dork in the school band, but he's not doing anything. He's not mistreating Needy in any way.
Other than the fact that he's Needy's boyfriend. Yeah, that's really the only point of contention, is that he is her romantic partner.
And Needy even called it out. Why are you going after Chip? You can go after any guy in this town. Why are you going after Chip just to get to me? So it's possible that on some level Jennifer really wanted to have that romantic relationship with Needy, but the idea of hot chick in high school prevents that because she's very promiscuous with other guys. Like I said, very early on in the movie, it's implied that she has slept with several of the men in the town.
Well, the thing is it might be the fact that Needy is the only person that we see throughout the course of the film that doesn't really sexualize Jennifer at any point.
Treats her like a person.
I mean, even the point with Chip, you can say that, but there is that point in the park where he does give in to that.
Well,
where
he just got told, "Hey, your girlfriend's been sleeping around on you."
Well, but I mean, there's a difference between being attracted to somebody and sexualizing them.
I wanted to bring this up later, but I'll bring it up now. We do need to talk about Colin for a moment, because early on, Colin seems to have no romantic interest in Jennifer. He does seemingly have some sort of relationship with Needy. The two shared, according to Needy, the two shared a class together. They worked on a paper together. So they're friends. Needy seems to be friends with several people in the entire school. When Colin seems to ask Needy, "Are you okay?" That's when Jennifer, with post succubus, starts talking to Colin, and then Colin automatically starts getting into Jennifer. Maybe it's something that Jennifer has some sort of hypnosis, because we see her eyes change. She could have done the same trick to Chip. But maybe, again, I've never seen this. This is my first viewing of the movie, and that's my interpretation. If I'm wrong, let me be wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that you're necessarily wrong. It's a valid enough reading. The thing is that there is a point where you could legitimately say that she's looking for whatever's easy and whatever's there. And he just happens to present himself when she is at a low point. Just like the football player that is the victim and the exchange student that is the victim are kind of just easy targets. Colin might also just be an easy target. Chip could be argued to fall into that as well, because his fight with Needy before that,
where they sort of break up.
Yeah, the sort of, let's put it on pause. Needy is doing it more for Chip's safety. She thinks that if she gets Chip out of the picture until she's dealt with Jennifer, he'll be safer.
Yeah, that went south real quickly.
But, him being alone on his way to the dance, unfortunately, makes him an easier target for Jennifer. But yeah, going back to kind of Jennifer's quote-unquote seduction technique, I guess, we never really see what happens with her first attempt with the exchange student when she's telling the story of what happened to her, to Needy, and she's filling Needy in on the story. Because everyone thought that guy died in the fire at the bar. But Jennifer says, no, I found him on my way to your house that night. Because she found him wandering around confused after the fire, trying to get back to his host family. And she realized that no one knew he had survived the fire, and she thought, okay, that's going to be an easy target. And she pulled him into the woods, and we don't really see how exactly she seduced him, I suppose.
I don't think she even said she needed a quick thing to eat. I don't think she seduced him at all. She just went for the devour.
Well, but succubus implies, and because of the way,
because she just seduces the football player, she seduces Colin. And she
it seems to be the way.
Yeah.
And of course, just the legend of the succubus anyway. The thing about it is that we don't really see what happened between them. We just know that she shows up later at Needy's house.
Though I must say, the effect of her face transforming the first time we see it with the football player, pretty good, and it actually holds up compared to current special effects.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that was like digital and how much of that was like, a
practical
prosthetic, puppet thing. There are puppeteers listed in the credits, so I know something in the film had to be.
Yeah. The only thing that kind of bummed me out is that we only see that once. Every other time we see her mouth open, it's in shadow.
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of would like to have seen that effect more than once in the film.
I do like that they went for kind of like a snake jaw thing.
Yeah.
She really gets into what she needs from a victim when she talks to Colin.
She needs
because
them to be afraid. She needs them to have that little bit of hope.
no, she needs them to be entirely hopeless, is what she tells Colin. And that's why Needy starts repeating it. And also, if you notice, when she takes Chip into the pool at the end of the movie, somebody has spray painted the word hopeless on the side of the pool. So it is a place of despair, I guess, that she takes him. I don't really, we never know the context or who has left that graffiti there or why, but it is there when she brings him into the room that there's the word hopeless spray painted on the side.
I also wanted to bring, now that you mentioned it, is it ever explained how Needy gets psychic powers?
I have a theory about that. It's not explained in the movie. I don't know if there's like a different cut of the movie than the one we watched.
I watched this. I watched the cut that's on Amazon Prime. I don't know which one you watched.
I didn't watch that one. I watched the original theatrical cut. So I don't know. We may have watched different ones, but the one I watched, it's never explained in the film, as far as I know, exactly how Needy comes across her connection. However, my theory is that it was the transfer of blood between them.
Yeah, we get the flashback to them as children, and Jennifer gets cut in the sandbox, and Needy kisses her boo-boo and makes it all better. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It does make me wonder that because of the possession of the demon into Jennifer, and also there is another possibility, which is that when Jennifer comes in right after and vomits the whatever,
the black goo.
Yeah, some of it does get into Needy's mouth and eyes and such. And there is a possibility that might have been part of the demon, because when it is on the ground, it is moving almost as if it is alive.
And there's a throwaway line of Needy's mom having some sort of premonition dream.
Yeah, Needy's mom does have these weird dreams about them staking Needy to a tree, much like JC. So she has this weird dream of her own daughter being crucified, which is also never quite explained, but her mother keeps having these strange night terrors, although she keeps having them in the middle of the day. And we don't know, like, if her mom is an alcoholic or what. She seems to have, like, a very odd sleep schedule, and
well, it's explained early on when Jennifer, right after the possession, she goes to Needy's house. They ask, "Where's your mom?" "Oh, she's working late tonight."
Well, yeah, I mean,
so it could just be that she just has an overnight job and sleeps during the day.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just the way that Needy says it is less like the way you talk to somebody who has a night job, and more like, yeah, but you were up again all night on a bender, so you're having a daymare. Like. I don't know. It's just like in her delivery rather than like,
Mhm.
I don't know. It just might be like a weirdness in that particular take. I don't,
One thing I mean,
know.
the thing about all the whole psychic thing I did like is the fact that she knows that Jennifer is kissing Colin just by the feel on her lips.
Chip, yeah.
Yeah, Chip. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Like, she knows that Jennifer is kissing Chip just by the feel of his lips.
Yeah, she can taste
him,
her boyfriend. Yeah, it is kind of a fascinating thing. I just kind of wish it was. It feels like a scene got cut that would have explained that. I don't know. There are some really funny little moments in there, like Needy goes and looks up what Jennifer is in the occult section of the school library.
Our library has an occult section? Apparently so.
Yeah, but it's very small. Which I found so hilarious. I do like that we started with, seeing Needy as an inmate with scars on her body and stuff, picking fights. Then we get the whole narration of what happened with Jennifer. Also, the one thing I wasn't expecting, Needy has a pet ferret.
Yeah.
Like, just automatically A+, the hero move right there.
From the ferret.
A pet ferret.
Ferret approved.
Ferret approved. It's such an interesting kind of ride of a film as it goes through this whole thing of how the band rides this weird tragedy of the fire in the bar they were playing at. Which, did they start the fire?
Yeah, I mean,
that was kind of interesting. Like, did the fire, was it an accident, or did they start it? Because the band seems completely
in control,
not phased by the fire at all. The way they just kind of wander out and they're like, "Hey, whatever."
Because we see Nikolai looking off to the side, and then something catches on fire. These guys are already into the occult as it is. And on top of that, it seems that the song that they're singing is hypnotizing Jennifer, because she just zones out during it and is completely zoned out up until she regains consciousness after they're in the van ride.
Yeah. So did they like spike her drink, or did they? Yeah, I don't know. It's so bizarre.
I mean, when you're dealing with the occult, it could just simply be hypnosis.
I love all these like random little unexplained things that you're like, was it magic, or was it, do other people in this story have powers, or was, but also, was their rise because they sacrificed Jennifer, or did they accidentally sacrifice like an entire bar full of people to Satan? And that might have been the reason. I mean, that was the other thing I've always kind of wondered about it, is like, was their rise because they, sacrificed quite a few people in that bar? And maybe one of them was a virgin.
I mean, what they say, something like 8 students died in that fire, and several of the teachers.
Yeah, several adults, because there's just like a whole bunch of people that were, working in the bar and all that kind of stuff,
I mean, it's the only bar in town, so people who may not even be interested in the band, they're just going to the bar to get a beer after work.
Yeah, I mean, did Chris Pratt's cop die in that bar? We don't know. I mean, he was in there. Do we know if he ever?
We never see him in the rest.
We've never seen him in the rest of the movie.
But it's implied that Jennifer's still banging him, because he says, "I can do whatever I want. I'm banging a cop."
But is that like still an ongoing thing, or I'll get sympathy because they know me.
Possible.
So yeah, I mean, we don't know. I mean, that's only like a month later, so it might have just been like, hey, remember, I'm that guy's girlfriend and he just died. Like, I don't know.
It's very interesting how realistic they handle students reacting to grief. Like, another death and no one really cares because grief was yesterday's news.
Well, but also they're having so much death in such a short time in such a small town. And she says, when Needy and Chip are talking about it, she says, like, we know everyone, and it feels like anytime one person dies here, the whole town stops. Well, they just had a mass death occurrence in this town, and before they can even grieve that, then the football player dies. And before they can finish grieving that, Colin dies. And before they can finish grieving that, like, you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just suddenly compounded and compounded and compounded. This whole story takes place over like 2 months, 3 months tops, during which, like, I don't know, 12 people have died in a very small town. That's a massive amount of, literally everyone in the town would be impacted by that grief. Everyone is going to be connected to someone who died on a very personal level. So everyone in the town is going to be grieving at least one of those people. They're not going to have time to process.
I mean, and Jennifer takes advantage of that.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that the way that the band is taking advantage of that, because they say that the town has made national news, and because the band was there, the band has started using that to forward their own agenda as, like, we were the band that was playing that night. Oh,
we saved people from the fire.
And yeah, and now there's this story that they saved people from the fire, even though Needy is saying, like, no, I was there. They didn't save anybody. They left while people were literally running out of the building on fire. I watched them walk away and save themselves. So, and it almost gets her into a fight in school in front of the teacher, who is just played so wonderfully by J.K.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to J.K. Simmons in this movie,
who is wearing the most ridiculous wig, and for reasons that are never explained, a
hook hand.
We don't know why. It's never mentioned.
Maybe he used to be the shop teacher.
Yeah, we don't know, but okay, sure. And he's just such a bizarre, unexplained character that wanders through the movie saying strange things in this,
like, he's intentionally
curly wig.
They intentionally make him uncool. Like, like, he's trying to, the uncool adult is trying to connect to the kids and failing miserably.
Yeah. But Needy almost gets into this fight with this other girl who is a total stan for the band, who's like, they're the heroes we need now. And Needy is rightfully saying they're not heroes. They were there, yeah, and then they just walked away and left people there. Which, I mean, they didn't have to be heroes. They were also possibly victims in that situation if the fire was accidental, but they're also not heroes. It just take away what happened to Jennifer and just focus on the fire. If the fire was an accident, they're just bystanders at the bar. You know, they're neutral parties at that point. And this girl is like, no, I heard a rumor that they saved a whole bunch of people, and now their song is bringing us all together in the midst of our grief, and it's a whole thing. And the band is playing into that in order to further their career, and they're now becoming this very famous band, and we see later on in the film that they're going on tour and they're getting more fans and all that kind of stuff. But as a good PR move, they come back to play the
school dance.
The school dance at the school in town where the tragedy happened, and all that kind of stuff.
They even named the dance after the song they wrote about the fire.
Yeah. I think that is also one of the sickest moments, is that as Jennifer is pleading for her life right before they sacrifice her, that she's, begging for her life, and they're like, hey, maybe we'll write a song about you. As a fan, that would make you very happy, wouldn't it? And then they start mocking her by
Jenny,
Jenny.
Yeah. 8675309.
Yeah, and then they start killing her to that song as the whole band is singing that song. I mean, it's kind of like you said, it's a dark comedy, so there is humor in that scene, but there's also just such bizarre brutality and such mundane brutality.
Casual evil, I think that's a thing now.
And it's the way that they, come back to all these students and are just like, hey, we're going to sing this song for you, and the only person in the room that's just absolutely disgusted by it is Needy.
Because that song is everywhere. I mean, that song becomes
inescapable throughout the movie. At all these points in the movie, people will turn on a radio and there's that song again.
As J.K. Simmons' character says, it's become the unofficial theme song of the town.
Yeah, and of course it's horrible because the things that are going on in the town are horrible. So if that's the theme song of the town, what does it say about the town? The evil that is feeding on the town.
Through the trees.
Yeah. And so, when we get that, heartbreak as Needy stands up to Jennifer finally, and, Chip helps stab Jennifer, but of course it doesn't work because you have to stab her through the heart when she's at her weakest. And Chip gives his life, sadly. Needy finally has to be like,
Needy snaps.
You never treated me right. You never, and you took away the only person that actually did treat me right. I mean, Chip wasn't a perfect boyfriend, and he made the same kind of mistakes all the teenage boys kind of make, fumbling at the start when they're trying to figure out, interpersonal relationships. Just like Needy makes the sort of mistakes that teenage girls make when they're trying to figure out interpersonal relationships, because that's just kind of how humans are. He was at least genuinely trying to be kind and supportive to her. He wasn't trying to tear her down.
Wasn't taking advantage of her.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to push her into anything. He wasn't.
The two have this conversation is that, oh, by the way, I bought these condoms. Not that I'm insinuating anything. No, you're not insinuating anything at all.
Yeah, and I mean, it really is. And you can see even when he buys the condoms, she's like questioning the type of condoms that he buys, and he's like, well, it's supposed to be more pleasure for the girl, and all this kind of. I mean, it's like he's at least trying to think about it. It's like, which is kind of sweet. It's like, It's like he wasn't trying to, be weird about it or anything. It's like, well, not only did I go out and buy condoms, I bought condoms that I thought you would like. It's like,
If ribbed for her pleasure, as they say.
yeah, I was like, well, that was kind of a sweet move. It's like, okay, like good for you, kid. Like, all right. But the thing is, though, is that is the point where Needy snaps. She's like, I kind of had one person who was genuinely trying to be nice and an equal partner to me in my life, and Jennifer took that away
Because she could.
Yeah, because she could, and it was kind of the final straw in a long line of that in a pretty toxic friendship. And despite the genuine affection that I do think that they felt at some point prior to, when all this went down and a demon entered the picture, that, Needy has to stop the demon at least, because let's face it, whatever Jennifer did die at that sacrifice. That is a really interesting and sad and sweet, almost.
I mean, it's
death
also
scene.
Yeah, he says that he loves her. He says that she looks hot in this ugly ass dress and this ugly ass hairdo that her mom gave her.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, you're just being delirious," but it's like he loves you. You could be wearing sweats and have your hair up in a bun, and he'll still say you're hot.
Yeah. But no, it's interesting that you went back to Chip's death scene, because I was actually talking about Jennifer's.
Oh yeah, the final fight. I have to say, the music direction in this final part of the movie, with that hard guitar when she's running to him, and then the final fight between Needy and Jennifer.
Yeah.
Mwah, perfect.
The whole soundtrack is fire. Like the both the music that they use and the score, just perfect. Love it. Love everything about it. But yeah, the whole thing where they Jennifer and Needy, they have their fight in the bedroom, and even in her weakened state, Jennifer is still able to, levitate and all that kind of stuff. But then she falls, and Needy is able to.
And what gets
that.
it? Yeah, what makes her fall is that Needy rips off the BFF necklace.
Yeah.
As if she's severing their connection.
Using that momentum to plunge the knife into her heart. But during that fight, though, of course, she gets bitten. Needy gets bitten by Jennifer.
We're going by werewolf rules, apparently.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a bit of that, but the fight wakes up Jennifer's mom, who finds Needy in there with her daughter's dead body, and
it's a box cutter.
Yeah, it is a box cutter. Yeah, that is an interesting choice of final weapon.
I mean, she even said it's for cutting boxes, and she cuts up.
Wink, wink.
Ah.
The thing is that we find out as we flash back, of course, is that what people don't know is that if you are bitten by a demon and survive, you get demonic powers. Some of them.
She can levitate, and she seems to have enhanced strength.
Yeah, so she breaks out of the asylum that she's in,
I mean, telling everyone my best friend was possessed by a demon and ate all the kids that died. Yeah. People would probably put you in asylum for that.
Well, I mean, she might not have even told people that. It just might have been like, oh, if you killed Jennifer, maybe you've been doing all the other killings, and since the other people got it, you know, they might have just figured she was insane, you know? Like, oh, you're a murder cannibal. Well, that's the crazy house, you know? So she might not have even told anybody about the supernatural part of it. They might have just blamed all the murders on her and just decided she was criminally insane. However, we get to see her hitchhiking, and we get a cameo by Lance Henriksen. I think we last talked about him when we talked about Alien.
Yeah.
So nice little horror cameo there. He picks her up, and I always kind of wonder if he came to a bad end, because he does seem like he's picking her up for maybe nefarious reasons.
An old man picking up a young girl off the highway? Possibly.
I mean, he does seem like he's kind of maybe starting to flirt with her a little bit. So I do kind of wonder if he got out of that situation alive. And she tells him that she's following a band, and tonight's going to be their last show, so she really needs to get there. And then we get the kind of during the credits
scene
montage.
Yeah.
As we see the members of the band going into their swank hotel as they've had a glow up from all their success.
It looks like someone's making a documentary about it because you get a camera guy.
Yeah, I don't know if that's supposed to be like one of the members of the band taking footage or somebody else taking footage of them, but
it's a store-bought handy cam. I've had one of those.
Yeah, which makes me think that maybe it's just a member of the band, you know, filming.
Yeah.
Like, you know, home movies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, you know, they're having their party, they're doing their drugs, and then there's a knock on the door, and then there's a lot of blood, and then there's cops and crime scene photos, and then we get our security cam footage of a bunch of, you know, happy giggly fans going one way, and Needy in a hoodie coming the other way and staring at the camera. So it's nice to know that the band got theirs.
Yeah, the band got theirs at the very end. So let's go to the question. Kiki, does Jennifer's body have the magic?
I mean, I think it does. I think it deserved better than it got when it originally came out. I like it.
All right. I will agree with you that the advertising did not do this movie justice. That it focused too much on the body part of Jennifer's body and not anything else in the movie. That if it had focused more on that, it probably would have got a better, more favorable reception. But I don't know. This is a weird one where I don't know if I like this one or not. And we have a binary system, so I kind of have to go one way or the other.
I mean, I've made a non-binary choice before, so
yeah.
You're free to go.
It's well filmed. The acting is good. Special effects are amazing. I don't know if I like the story. I don't know. I feel like if it had swayed more into the comedy or more into the horror, I would have liked it more. But I don't know. It's a fine movie. That's how I say. I'm stumped on this one. It's. I like parts of this. And I definitely like the final fight between Needy and Jennifer. Two best friends with this final face-off. I'm going to eat your soul and shit it out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one complaint, I think it's something that it's the same one that probably you have, as I wish they had explained better the psychic connection between Needy and Jennifer. Maybe there's a director's cut or an unrated cut that explains this. I don't know. So I don't think I've ever done this, but my grade is maybe I have to watch it a couple more times to really get it. But again, this is the first time I've seen the movie. So
I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. Some art is, I don't want to say confusing, but some art is, some art you're kind of left unsure of how you feel.
Yeah. The movie isn't as sexy as it was advertised, and not as scary as it could have been. I think that's going to be after this first viewing. Not as sexy as it was advertised, not as scary as it could have been. So next week we are continuing the real deal horror with a true OG horror movie. So with one of the greatest horror movies ever made. Check your head if you have the mark. We are going with the original 1976 version of The Omen.
I can't wait.
If you thought this one, folks, was the one you're not going to have to listen to with your kids, next week's going to be worse.
Yeah. No, I mean, we warned you. We're going absolutely straight up horror films for the rest of the month. So, yeah.
So, come back next week for The Omen, and we'll talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye. If you want to help the fight for human rights in the U.S., the American Civil Liberties Union works to protect constitutional rights for all Americans. Their website is aclu.org. If you need reproductive services in the U.S. or wish to donate to those who do, go to abortionfunds.org for more info. The battle isn't over until the last person surrenders. The fight continues.
Don't let the magic stop here.
Join our conversation online on Facebook at Rewatching the Magic.
Twitter at Rewatch the Magic.
And of course, new episodes every week at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com.
Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.